All right. Welcome, Stefanie, to the Fempreneur podcast.
Hey,
I
hey, thanks for having me.
am really excited to hear your business growth story. But first, where in the world are you? Where are you located?
Yeah, I am in the hoppin' metropolis of Indianapolis, Indiana. My team is fully remote, so we are everywhere from Missoula, Montana, to Atlanta, Georgia, to New York City, and everywhere in between.
Nice.
Yep.
So tell us about your Fempreneur story. How did you get started on your entrepreneurial journey? And yeah, just tell us kind of, I guess, what you were into as a little girl, like how you came down this entrepreneurial path.
You know what? It's so funny you bring that up because as you were saying the words entrepreneurial journey, I was like when I read the Babysitters Club in like middle school, and I was like hatching my babysitting business plan. I've always had an entrepreneurial bug. I have an independent streak about as wide as the Grand Canyon, but I also always knew that I needed work experience and working in other organizations to really understand the full context of running a business or some type of organization. So I always knew both, which was very frustrating at times. But basically, I was long story short, I have an undergrad in political science, a master's degree in nonprofit management, wanted to save the world by working for nonprofits. And I was on my third career after grad school. I worked for a regional nonprofit, a nonprofit based out of Indiana. Then I worked for an international HR consulting company that I kind of sweet talked my way into. And then I worked for a national nonprofit focused on Christian social justice. And really what I was doing is writing very niche training and development curriculum for church leaders to lead their own small group faith formation groups. And I was working for this organization. I loved the mission. Like, it had transformed my life. I loved everything that they did, and I hated my job. Like, I felt frustrated. I felt stuck. I felt caged in. I was tired of hearing you're too ambitious. I was tired of hearing you want to do too much and you want to move too fast. Um, and I certainly can even outpace my own ambitions most of the time. I have more dreams than I have time every single day. But I was tired of hearing that. And I had signed up for this Salesforce conversion project for this nonprofit. And I was converting 10 Excel files, um, an old access database, 17 Excel files, an old access database, and an old fundraising database into Salesforce. Like, the elite of elite CRM systems for nonprofits or for-profits. It doesn't matter. It's a fantastic system. But in the process of like trying to create consistent data across 10 years of organizational history, and literally what that led me to doing was sitting on my couch by myself for 4 months straight cleaning data. I don't know if anybody's picked up, but I'm a bit of an extrovert. And so cleaning data by myself on the couch was like you might as well have just taken my soul and just like stomped on it, right? Like the complete opposite of what fed me. And other organizational dynamics. And so I had a friend who was a life coach, and I was just telling him what I was struggling with. He goes, "Well, I can help you." I was like, huh? Like, I didn't even know what life coaching was. I didn't know, why that role existed. I'd barely heard of it. But I was like, I need help. Like, this isn't a therapeutic problem. I've been through lots of therapy. Like, this is not what this is. I am stuck, like stuck. And so within 3 sessions, he helped me be brave enough to say what I really wanted out of my career. And I felt at that time I'd had enough experience in a variety of sectors and roles that I can start connecting the dots to understand how to run a successful business. That's just what I needed for myself. Because I had done marketing, I had done HR consulting, I had done program development, I had done bookkeeping in high school for my aunt and uncle's real estate company. Like, I had touched almost every facet of a business being out of grad school for, at that point, I don't know, 10 years or so, or a little less than that. And so he helped me, his life coaching helped me be brave enough to say, I'm not an employee. Like, I'm not a team player. I'm meant to live out a vision that is my own, not other people's vision. this definition of team playing that I see inside of organizations, like, I think it's bull. I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on your podcast
Yes,
or
you
not.
are.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, the politicking, the talking around things, the having staff meetings where people just say stuff, but they don't really say anything. I'm like, "Why are we wasting our time? Like, I'm here to change the world, and we spend 90 minutes a week, like, saying nothing. Why? Like, why? What's the point?" Now I've learned to be much more diplomatic since then, but bottom line is like, that definition of team playing that I saw in organizations is not a productive one. It's not a helpful one. And so now we get to teach people how to be like impactful team players, versus just say bullshit at meetings and make it look like you're doing work, but you're really not. Can't stand that.
Mm,
And then and then the third thing that I learned through life coaching and his coaching specifically was that I was meant to be a coach. Like, I wanted to use my gift of saying what everyone's thinking but no one's saying out loud, to turn that version of truth telling into something positive versus being demonized. And that's what coaches get to do.
yeah,
And so I learned the techniques behind it by becoming a trained life coach and transitioning that into executive coaching and team coaching. I learned how to do that in a very productive, helpful, supportive, yet challenging and assertive way, so that I can leverage that gift, not turn it into, oh God, there's Stefanie again, bringing up stuff that nobody wants to talk about. It's, thank you, Stefanie and your team, for being here, for bringing up the tough stuff that we don't know how to tackle by ourselves.
yeah,
So that was 10 years ago. And then I can get you caught, like, that gets you caught up to my entrepreneurial journey. I can get you caught up from 2014 to now. But the power of life coaching in my situation can't be understated. I believe so wholeheartedly in coaching as a transformational tool, because it first changed my life. And then I've seen in the years since how it changes other people's lives and relationships to work. And so that was the thing that propelled me out on my own.
awesome. Yeah, let's get people caught up on 2014 to now. But
Yeah.
first, I want to know how you're using, because you were saying before we hopped on that LinkedIn is your go-to
Yep.
for building relationships with the right people. And so specifically, how are you using LinkedIn as a way to build more relationships with more of the right people?
Yeah. So when and I believe in full transparency, because every time you ask a business owner and they're like, "How's your business?" They all go, "Oh, it's great." And meanwhile, behind the scenes, it's a dumpster fire. I don't have a dumpster fire, but it's hard work every single day. So I say that I say that as the caveat to say, when I'm not inundated with delivery, so delivering coaching, consulting, writing proposals, which are great problems to have,
Yeah.
I'm working a prospecting and LinkedIn cadence that focuses on developing relationships. And I use mostly the messaging series and Sales Navigator. And I use that to reach out to people that I think are like minded, that I think might be dealing with some of the challenges that we help solve for based on their title, their organization type, their organizational size, what I know about their industry, not just because they have the title and they're in the organization. It's like, I look at their website to see if there's a values fit. And then I reach out to say, hey, is our growing pains something that you're thinking about trying to tackle as you work towards your strategic plan? Or, do you find yourself caught in the messy middle of digital transformation? Is this something that you might be looking to find a solution for? And so using that, I'm intentional about using that messaging around, is this something on your radar that you might want to talk about, versus, hey, here's what I do, we should schedule 30 minutes together, which
Mm,
is unwelcome,
yeah.
is a nice way to say that, unwelcome.
Yes. And yeah, as someone who gets a few messages like that a week, which I don't respond to, at least not warmly. Yours, like you said before, which is very them focused and very much like I'm curious about you and the kind of things going on in your world. That is such a huge shift. So I think that's important for fempreneurs to note is no matter whether you're using LinkedIn or Instagram, you've got to be in the DMs. You've got to be shooting out
Yep.
messages to people that you've done a little bit of research into. Because I was at a session earlier today with some other fempreneurs. It's a mastermind group that I don't lead, which is a new thing for me, and I'm loving it. I get to just show up and like
Yep.
listen and snack and not worry if I'm like making smacking sounds while I talk, or like I don't have to like worry about anything because I'm just there hanging out. It's
Yep.
not my group. But
Yep.
one of the topics that came up was like, what's working well for everyone on Instagram? And what I realized is that if you have 20 minutes every other day to be on whatever your top platform is, should you be posting or should you be in the DMs having meaningful conversations, them focused conversations? And I think it's option B every time, right?
Yeah.
You want there to be some sort of recent post so that they don't think that we've disappeared from that platform and we're not going to actually respond to their messages. But like a post that's been sitting there for a week or two is recent enough, right? It's like, do you agree with that, or how do you allocate your actual social media or LinkedIn time? Like, what do you get up?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think, you have one is knowing the algorithm of the system that's the most important for you to be on. So I have an expert in my network, and I have other go-to people that I say, okay, how does the algorithm prioritize? So then we try to post based on what the algorithm wants. So for example, on LinkedIn, um, it prioritizes one post a day. That's it. And other people are posting multiple times a day, but if you look at their first post, it gets 3,000 views. All the other ones are closer to 100. I'm making up these numbers, but you guys get the
Yeah.
situation. And it will not prioritize any post that has any kind of external link in it. And
Mhm.
so you have to understand the rules of the game of the platform that you want to be in. And I'm a novice when it comes to LinkedIn, but I know enough to be dangerous, and I know enough of what not to do to help myself. But I agree. I think the posting, I think when we think about the amount of noise and information and content that is coming at everyone every single day, the number one sales technique I have, and it's part of my personality, is you have to be a pattern interrupt. You have to cut through the noise. You have to find a way to not just get people's attention for attention's sake, but get people's attention for stuff that matters to them. Um, and then you can develop relationship, and then maybe you can sell to them if they're buying, those kinds of things. But I find going on a platform and being like, who can I sell to today, is really very transactional and gross. Like, I go on thinking, who are my pro troublemakers that I can find today? Because pro troublemakers is a type of leader that we cultivate. Those are positive change agents that people actually want to work with. And so I'm looking around for clues, like, who are other pro troublemakers out there that, these are other folks that are told they're too much, they're too ambitious, they're trying to do too many things at once. How can we connect personally and
Yeah.
see what else is going on there?
Yeah, and those are the people that you want as clients too, I'm sure,
Yes.
because you can relate, you get them, they get you. They're just like, "Yep, show me the path. I already know I like you." Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool. That's
Yep.
really cool.
Exactly.
I love
Exactly.
that you emphasize, the DM, like messaging people over just those generic posts or those blast out messages that are all about what you do. Because I think that comes down to the reason why social media exists is we're supposed to be social, and no one wants to go to a party where someone's just talking about themselves. Like, no one wants to talk to that person or listen to that person because it's not fun. So social media is supposed to be fun, and you're going to be more fun and engaging when you make it about them and then allow them to bring up what you do and how you can help them, right?
For sure. For sure. For sure. For sure.
I love your website, by the way. It's really clean. It's really punchy. It's really clear. Yeah, it's really really great. And I love your podcast. Tell us about your podcast.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's called the Hot Mess Hotline, and I would say, there are three things that I contribute to my sales and marketing experience. I'm not great at marketing. I've learned to be pretty darn good at sales, in the spirit of finding people we can help, not making money. But it's one, being a pattern interrupt. Two is follow up, follow up, follow up. Like, most salespeople only follow up 2 or 3 times, and it takes 5 to 7 touches to get someone to respond to you. That's been the key to my success. And I've been through a lot of sales coaching, so I share all of this knowledge freely and widely for the things that I've invested in and have moved the needle for my business and for me personally. And the third is, and it sounds so cliche, but like, be your freaking self. Like,
Mm,
be your freaking self. I'm from Fairland, Indiana. I am homegrown. Like, I have built everything I've had from scratch. I have learned. When I have failed, I've picked myself back up. Like, I have my own little funny language and quirky ways of describing things because that makes me giggle and I like to have fun at work. Like, the more that I'm myself and the more that I do not give a damn about how my message, I care how it lands. I don't care how how specifically it lands with other folks. I want it to resonate, and I want it to be a pattern interrupt, but I don't like the purpose of marketing is to qualify and disqualify people from wanting to work from you. Don't forget about the disqualification part.
mm.
Like, I had a guy in LinkedIn message me and say, "You come across as a moron." And I was like, "Well, go fuck yourself." Like, I'm not. Okay. Quirky, maybe. Like to have fun, definitely. A moron? No, sir. But
Mhm.
okay. But thanks for sharing your feedback. Um,
Was that in
so
a comment or was that a DM?
it was a DM.
Oh, geez, hey?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
it's
do you agree that when that happens, it's a sign from above that you're on the right path?
ooh, I never thought about it that way.
'Cause I've heard that said, and I know for me, I struck a nerve with some people when I was just really getting bold online, and I was doing kind of the things you're saying, like being myself and not
Yes.
trying to please everyone and being okay with the disqualification thing that happens. And yeah, I struck some nerves and had some negative comments, always from men, actually, interestingly. But
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I think it was Tim Ferriss or somebody was talking about this phenomenon, or maybe it was Pat Flynn. But I was like, "Yes, it's happening to me," and I was like, "Okay, sweet. It means I'm on the right path. Like, good."
Yes, yeah. Yeah, if you're not being challenged in, like, multiple ways, right, you're to upskill or that kind of pushback, you're right, I didn't until you, like, walk through what you were saying, I agree wholeheartedly, like, the obstacle is the way. I've been digging into stoicism a lot lately. The obstacle is the way, and so when it feels hard, it's the universe like saying, "Do you really want this, Lyndsie? Like, do you really want this?" Because if the answer is yes, it's only going to get harder from here. The problems that you have when you're making $100,000 a year are awesome problems because they're prepping you for the problems that you have at $1 million a year. And you don't have the tenacity, you don't have the persistence, you don't have the skills to solve the $1 million problem yet. That's why the universe is walking you through 100,000 and 250 and 500,000 and 750,000 to get you to the million because it's building your muscles.
Mhm.
Like, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, I'm jotting down all these different ideas for this podcast episode title. I'm not going to tell you which one I'm going to pick yet, but I'm pretty sure I know from things you're saying. All right, now I'd like you to jump back into your story and
Yeah.
bring it up to date from 2014 to now. Tell us kind of chronologically that some of the big decisions you've made. I want to know about probably the biggest challenge you can think of in the last decade that you had to overcome to stay in business. So tell us your things.
Yeah. So, again, full disclosure, I probably had 3 or 4 points where I've wanted to quit. And I was literally at the point of sitting down with my husband and the words coming out of my mouth. It felt so hard and so frustrating. So, started out, so went to go see the life coach, went through life coach training, and thought, oh, I really want to build a business helping people understand how to live out their purpose like my life coach did for me. And in 2014 in the Midwest, I could not find a way to make that a viable business. And certainly one that made, I think that first year I made $3,000. The second year, no, the first year I made 13. The second I made about 30. The next I made 50. And I was like, oh, I'm on my way. Oh my God. But I'd pivoted into some B2B at that point. Probably one of the smartest things that I did, and this was at my husband's advice. So I took the action, but my husband knew better than me. Instead of just cutting bait with my former employer, I went to them and said, I have this vision for my life, and I love this work and I would like to have one job with you all, not four anymore. Can
Mm,
I go on contract just selling our programs? It's really the thing that I'm the most passionate about, and it's the thing that I'm best at. And I'm the best personality to do that in comparison to who else is on the team because of my experience. Luckily, they said yes. And so what I did is I formed my corporation. They paid the corporation. So I was building up my savings till I had about a year's worth of salary saved. And I let them go. I want to say about a year and a half in. It may have been 2.5 years. The pandemic and time has blurred a lot of things, so forgive me there. But about a year and a half or 2.5 years, I was able to let them go because I had enough revenue and I had enough proposals in the pipeline that I knew I had a viable business at that point. And so I feel like that was a really smart decision. And based on my research, a lot of successful entrepreneurs do that. They are balancing two streams of income, one the stable one, and then the one they're trying to build to create a stable business, because then they're able to lessen their stress and provide stability for their family, whatever that means, while they're also living out their dreams. Um, not going into business while I had any debt, of course, those are, I think, all smart moves at the beginning. So there was that piece of it. Couple years in, couldn't make the life coaching thing work. So I went back to my HR consulting roots and what I had learned there and transitioned into executive coaching. I think some of the things that I've done well is uh, scoped out work in proposals and then figured out how to deliver it later. And really, if someone says, can you do that? And you've touched on pieces of it before, the answer is always yes. This is your opportunity to bring it together in new ways. Of course, not being disingenuous, not lying, none of those things, but it's, hey, can you help in this way? Yes, I can. And then you figure out how to
yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think there's a level of confidence that entrepreneurs have to have in order to keep going.
Can I pause your story for a second? Because on that topic of confidence you have to have, I'm curious to know where your childhood, like, did your parents do something to make you be this confident, badass woman that you are? Like, how did you become so obviously confident and willing to even say, yes, I can do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but yes, we're going to get there. And like, because I feel like that's something that's built up in us in our childhoods.
Um, yes, my confidence was built in my childhood, not in the ways not in good ways. My childhood is basically it's not ready for public consumption, to be respectful of the
Yeah,
people that were involved.
yeah.
But it was more of an after school special
Mm,
than a Hallmark movie.
mm,
And so the good Lord up above has certainly imbued me with certain qualities to be able to be driven enough to escape the situations that I was raised in.
mm,
School was my safe place, and so earning A's and earning love and attention at school certainly is a life skill that I've used. There's definitely points where I've outlasted that skill and had to learn new skills, but um, looking to the powers that be and getting the A and being the shiny student and having the answers certainly can be very valuable and getting me pretty far. And
yeah.
as I also had other mentors that stepped into my life that showed me the way too, like my aunt and uncle's business. Who gets to say that as a 16-year-old they were entering $1 million worth of invoices into a bookkeeping system and understood how bookkeeping works? I got to, because of my mom, it was actually my stepdad's family, because of who my stepdad's family was, the universe brought all these things together to show me the way. Because school was my safe place, there was never any doubt that I was going to college, so everything was funneled for Stephanie's going to college. There is no other option for her. So the universe definitely was good to me, but the reason I have this confidence is because as a little girl, I had to do things and fight battles that no little girl should ever have to, and stand up for myself and protect my brothers and all of these things that had some good side effects. But at the time, no one would wish on their children.
Yeah. Are you the oldest? Is that okay
Oh,
to?
of course. Oh, yes, of course I'm the oldest daughter. Come on now. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, okay. I wanted to just find out a little bit about childhood Stephanie, because I
Yeah.
had some suspicions that there was something, yeah, like that going on. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so pick up from where you left off before I so rudely interrupted you.
No, you're good. You're I mean, it's all connected. It's all connected. Um, and I will say now my business, focuses on fixing hot messes, creating order out of chaos. So anybody that's taken psychology 101 will be like, "Oh, Stephanie, I see how you're working out your childhood wounds by fixing out messes." I'm like, "Yes, I am." It is a skill I learned at 8 and that I now get to practice at 43. Ta-da! So anyway, yeah, and so, what I started doing, again through the magic of the universe, through the magic of networking and sales, and my willingness to put myself out there and hear no multiple times a day to get to my yeses, I started doing some corporate executive level coaching.
Mhm.
And at that point, I had enough, like, I had coached executives, but in life coaching realms, not in workplace coaching. So I could translate all of that into basically corporate sponsored executive level coaching. So it was all, again, every step in business has been an extension of the problem that I just solved for. It's always like, it's just this string of pearls where the next pearl is a little bigger and the next pearl is a little bigger, but it's all connected. And so I have just found when I pay attention to serendipity, when I'm willing to put myself out there repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, you see how the things that you were solving for, finally they kind of come to fruition. You're like, "Oh, that's what I was trying to do. Here it is." And so I started doing executive level coaching. I started doing some training. Um, and looking into best practices around instructional design and just continuing to educate myself. I think I've always been totally willing to say, "I don't know, but I'll figure it out. I don't know, let's do it. I don't know, but there's got to be an answer. Other people have figured this out." No one's born knowing how to do marketing. No one's born knowing how to lead with influence. No one's born knowing how to, manage 700 people through change management. But you learn it, like, just like everybody else, so I can learn it. And so that's really been the evolution of the business. And then from a marketing perspective, I was trying to find my niche in this world. Like, yes, I'm an executive coach. I want to add team members. I want to do more of this. I think I have a special sauce here that we can amplify. What does that mean? Well, when I looked around, all the executive coaches in my space focus on leadership development. And apparently I'm channeling Gary Vee today with all my air quotes. My apologies. But like, all these executive coaches were doing leadership development, and one, leadership development, like, that doesn't fill my soul, just to do that. It's not the thing that, like, really excites me. And from a marketing perspective, there's a lot of people in that space. There's a lot of methodology in that space. There's a lot of companies, both big and small. The competitor list is miles long. And so I said, okay, how can I differentiate myself? I was in a mastermind with some other women at the time, and we would, all be on the hot seat and problem solve. And I had a friend say, "You're not really in leadership development, you're in change management." I was like, "Oh, you're right. I am." And so then I started pivoting our marketing towards change management. I gave a presentation on how to be a pro troublemaker, which is a positive change agent that people actually want to work with, versus the devil's advocate, the nitpicker, the pain in the ass. We know those types intimately. If we're all honest with ourselves, we've been one of those. I wanted to teach people, and I started digging into this language about, it's called positive deviancy, right? Like, how do you challenge the status quo and have people say thank you instead of shut the hell up? There are techniques to do that. And so that's where it took off. I found my niche. I found my industry, if you will. And as I dug deeper and deeper into that, and I realized the current players that be, I was like, I don't think what they have is that effective. And so I went on the hunt for a unifying strategy that I've created that we now call the change architecture, that blends and creates alignment between internal communications, organizational change management, individual change management, self leadership, team leadership, and project management. If when you unify all those different elements, that's how you drive change. That's how you meet your strategic plan. That's how you connect the dots between what will be different in 3 years and what your team is doing today. I was like, oh, yes, like this is the thing. This is the thing. The pandemic hits, all eyes are on IT. And IT clearly needs a lot of help knowing how to communicate effectively, set expectations, deliver on what the business needs. And I was like, oh, well, we've got that through change architecture. Come in and help. And so that solidified our place in this world, who we help, how we do it, solidified the need, and all we've done since then is further refine what we've offered, as well as further refined how we discuss to make sure that we're always discussing in the most contemporary way that our CIOs need support. Because just as in pop culture, we hear, oh, digital transformation is coming and AI is coming and this thing is coming. Our IT leaders are responsible for delivering that inside of our companies, usually about 12 to 18 months before it hits the news. And so they're always thinking, like, how do we get our people ready to deliver on the next thing? Well, we know how to do that. That's change readiness. We know how to do that. So,
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
yeah.
So you are a busy woman. And I think I saw some pictures online of you with a little one.
Yes, we adopted a newborn at the end of December. And so, yeah, he is super special. He's inside the house right now, actually. That's who I was napping with before we started
Oh,
this
sorry.
conversation. Yeah. So, yeah, my husband and I have been on the adoption hunt really for about 8 years now, trying to figure out our path and how that would come together. All along this story, while I'm building a business, we were foster parents. My foster children were with us for a little less than 2 years before they went to go live with their birth mother. So basically, like, my children died, but they didn't die. So I got my heart broken and my soul chewed up and spit out, and my business grew by 20% that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was 2018. Like, whew. 2018 prepared my husband and I to lead other people through the pandemic because we have a lot of resilience, a lot of it.
No kidding. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, you are just a fantastic ball of energy. I'm so pumped that we know each other. It has been
A lot of coffee, Lyndsie. Done a lot of coffee.
such a joy getting to know you and your caffeine induced energy or whatever that is. But yeah, I just really want to connect as many people with you as possible. So tell us where the best place is. It sounds like LinkedIn is where you hang out most.
Yeah, love to connect with folks on LinkedIn. Would be honored if anything that I shared today resonates with you. A Hot Mess Hotline, we put out episodes once every 3 weeks with ambitious, too much leaders who have solved really hard problems. So it's really a podcast about problem solving and resilience. So if folks are interested in that, and right now it features a lot of tech leaders, but the way we frame it up, it's problem solving skills. It's, really agnostic to the problem. So I'd be honored if folks would want to hear more of that. If they want to hear me talk some more, said nobody ever. I know, but if anybody wants to hear, how I break it down with other leaders, would be honored to have folks over there too. And of course, if folks are stuck in that messy middle of growth between, and you've got at least 30, 50 employees, we're here to help. We're here to serve, because it's a funky place to be in a business, and we know how to get entire groups of people over that hump and back onto success.
Right. So you're Stefanie with an F, Crivens.
Crevins like Evans. Mm-hmm.
Like Evans, KRIEVINS.com. And that's where you can find her podcast. You can connect with her on social. You have a great YouTube channel as well, I've noticed. So definitely connect with Stefanie and learn more about her problem solving and, how did you put it?
Hot mess fixing, pro troublemaking.
Yes, and I love when you talked about the obstacle is the way and the obstacles are the way. And even what you were saying at the end there about, the personal challenges you were facing in 2018 and how those really teed you up to just be that much more of a leader and someone who could help others. And these things happen to us for a reason, and we do need to embrace them instead of feeling like they're happening to us. They're really happening for us to set us up for for things. And Stephanie is such a perfect example of that, you guys. So please connect with her. Thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. Is there anything you'd like to leave our Fempreneur listeners with before we hop off?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I would just say, as you're on this journey, be mindful of both when the obstacle is the way, right? Like when you feel resistance, push through. And most importantly, use your meditation time, your reflection time to decide when to quit and what to quit. Because it's both and. And oftentimes the thing that is the hardest to do is the thing that you need to do. That is the obstacle to tackle. The thing you need to quit is the busy work, is the stuff that lies to you and says, oh, it's so important, but it doesn't move the needle in your business. The hard stuff moves the needle in your business.
Thank you. Wise words from Stephanie. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, Lyndsie.